Hello and welcome to the third and the Dawn Football Show. I am Joe. With me is Cecil, as always. Here to talk some NFL football. We have a big event this week for Cecil, but we're still here to do the podcast. We're going to recap Week 8, preview Week 9. First of all, Cecil, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Yeah, some big life events happening this week. That's why I will not be here next week. You'll have a lovely guest host here along with Joe. But yeah, it's exciting times. Marriage is in about a little less than 36 hours now. So getting ready and ready to talk some football before we get to that.
Oh, yeah, the best way to get ready for a wedding is to talk some football. Next week, as you said, you'll have a replacement. The whole YouTube feature, if you watch us on YouTube, will still say Cecil Walker. I'm not going to change that up, but we'll make it known that it is not Cecil Walker in some way so that the person giving those opinions does not get it confused for Cecil because God knows that's the last thing we want. But Cecil, let's get it all started with our recap of Week 8. We'll start it off with Thursday Night Football again, like usual. The Bills beat the Buccaneers 24 to 18. Now the Bills had control of this one for the first half. End of the third quarter. The Buccaneers score a touchdown late. They go for two and get it to cut it to six. Like we know, when teams are down 14, a lot of teams will end up going for two for the analytical reasons, even though they should probably just do it more of the time anyway for those reasons. But what we saw was the Bills were the better team. Josh Allen did have a turnover, and now he actually has a shoulder injury, so he did not practice today while we're recording this on Wednesday as they get ready to take on our Cincinnati Bengals. But, the Bills were the better team. The Buccaneers kept it close enough to cover the spread or to keep it within the spread, and, still some concerns with the Bills, though, with the way they're playing.
Right. The Bills, they came out and played really well in the first half. But kind of the same thing as we saw with that Jets game, first game of the season. The second half, things start not working out as well. They're not as dominant in the second half. They kind of let their foot off the gas. Josh Allen makes some mistakes. Obviously, he got hurt in this one, so that can affect a little bit of the lack of points kind of in the fourth quarter. But I mean, you're looking at this Buccaneers team, and they weren't in it for three quarters. Basically, they were getting crushed in the first half. They managed to eke out some points here and there, especially towards the end of the half. And then the third quarter, they were getting punched again. And then by the fourth quarter, though, they just got enough. Were converting. Honestly, they should have probably been out of that game, I think, three times from what I recall from Thursday night, because I think the Bills got two separate fourth down penalties where the Buccaneers were going for it. It was like 4th and 9 plus each time. And they either got a personal foul roughing the passer or some kind of holding call where basically it was automatic first downs. And I'm just sitting there, and it was two times on that drive that basically Mike Evans then caught that touchdown pass on. I was just sitting there going, what are they doing? Like, they could just lock this game up. Who's fouling people on fourth down when you're up two possessions? Worst case, he catches the ball. Like, don't give all the momentum away because you're committing stupid penalties and moving the ball upfield. So, I mean, there's something to take away from this game. It's a lot of the same old we've been saying about the Bills so far. They're undisciplined. I don't know how good they're going to fare against other big teams. Obviously, they had a big win against the Dolphins. But again, that's like the last complete game they've done. They are playing down to their competition. The Buffalo Bills are the ultimate. I will play at the level of whoever my opponent is, and they're really starting to do that. And that's not a good look for an elite team. Like, you can't just, as an elite team, you can't just decidedly just show up when a team's good. Like, you got to play all the time. That's what Patriots did. That's what the Colts did with Peyton Manning. Like, they were good all year round, and they'd even find another gear to amp up their game the rest of the year. But this just leaves you with inconsistency. Home field playoff advantage is up for grabs this year because everyone's had a slow start, and Buffalo's a heck of a home field advantage as well. So, same problems for Buffalo. I mean, the Buccaneers were this close to Chris Godwin literally just turning around and like having his arms out and the ball like literally hitting his arms and it being a touchdown. We're so close to literally within that Hail Mary throw having the conversation this week be what I was talking about last week with the Bills being frauds question mark. Like, that would have 100% been the conversation all the way up until Sunday and be the conversation throughout this week is that the Bills, and why were the Bills in that situation? Because they couldn't finish a game and it's going to haunt them, and they're not going to be able to continue to carry the success and get wins against better teams, which we'll preview in this week's game as well. But overall, Bills get the win. I was said that spread was a little too high. I knew that they were just going to bomb the ball at the end of the game to Mike Evans and something would get through. You can roll back the tape and hear that one.
Definitely, Cease. And like we said, I think the Bills, I would love to see them just put a team to bed and just end the game. If they win this game by 14, we're having a different discussion. I'll also say we thought the AFC would be pretty. I mean, we thought there were 3 contenders, but we thought there's so many good teams in the AFC. All but one team are within 2 games of each other right now. It's still early, but that's still pretty impressive considering you look at the other conference, the NFC, and that's not the case. Do you know who that one team is who's not within 2 games of everyone else?
I'm going to say it is the. Dude, who is it? Is it the New York Giants?
AFC.
Oh, AFC. Yeah, duh. New England Patriots.
You got it. Ding, ding, ding.
Must
be your week. So yeah, it's very competitive. So they got to start getting these things going because at the end of the year, they're going to lose playoff seeding. They're going to maybe lose a playoff spot if things keep on going this way and the injuries they have. So definitely with you on that. Let's move on to Sunday. We'll start off with some of the 1 p.m. games here, Cease. We have the Cowboys beating the Rams 43-20. This one was never close. The Cowboys coming off the bye and everything look like they're a different team. Dak Prescott had a pretty good game. CeeDee Lamb had a very good game. If you had him in fantasy, you know that. Overall, just played up to their potential for once. That's very nice. And the Rams, maybe showing that maybe they got a little bit overhyped early in the season. They still have a lot of holes in their team. They had to use a lot of draft picks that maybe a lot of teams don't use, like the 4th and 5th round draft picks who are getting a lot of playing time. And then Matt Stafford also hurt his thumb on a throw. So we'll see how he does. It's unconfirmed whether he's going to miss this week. We'll get to the pick later, but that makes things a little bit more complicated for the Rams moving forward.
Absolutely. I mean, who are the Dallas Cowboys at this point? They come out like this in games. Every couple weeks they have these dominant games against these teams. That's the team we were talking about when we were previewing this season. That's the kind of team we saw out there. That's the team we went. This team could win a Super Bowl. It's stacked. And obviously they've had some injuries since that point that make them a little less threatening as that kind of full, Super Bowl contender, title we throw around people a lot. But I mean, this was an impressive win against a Rams team that has overperformed this year. But it's just what this tells me more than anything, what we talk about a lot on this show is, that's great. They beat this team by this much, but the question is, why are they so inconsistent? When I see this kind of inconsistency, a lot of that ultimately comes down to coaching. To have these wild swings week in and week out, there's no other real way to explain it. Like, pretty much the coach is not getting these guys ready. They're all ultra talented. The roster is arguably one of the best in the NFL. We have no real doubt about that. Both of us are more than happy to admit that. But the reality is that they don't come to play every week, and that's because the motivation, the game planning, and just, any kind of when a situation arises, their coach doesn't have it. It's easy because Mike McCarthy doesn't have to do anything. When they're winning, when they go up by, 3 touchdowns early in a game, Mike McCarthy doesn't have to do anything else. But when the games are close or, just not blowouts, he loses them games. And he's going to continue to lose them games. And, there's a big matchup this weekend. We'll see how it stacks out. But, the Cowboys I need to see them not blow every team out consistently every week, but I need them to see impressive, consistent wins where they put teams away on a week-in, week-out basis, and they can pull out wins too, instead of it just being kind of every once in a while they look good and then they're going to go back to getting crushed or something, because it's just not what good teams do.
Yeah, a good game this weekend against the Eagles would go a long way to building some trust with some of our picks for them. Like, I can't pick them in the playoffs against the Eagles and 49ers right now. If they kind of play well down the stretch and do some of the things you said, I could do it, but it's hard to overcome the coaching. And Mike McCarthy looks like this week was pretty good, but we've seen what he's done in the past, so I'm very, very hesitant to do that. Good win for the Cowboys. We'll see if they can keep it going this week. Next one up, Cease. The Packers stink. They're very bad team. I don't know how else to put it. They're playing very terribly. Joe Barry on defensive coordinators really doesn't have them ready to play. The Vikings, 4-game win streak. They win 24-10, but Kirk Cousins goes down with an Achilles injury, so they went from starting off the season poorly where fans maybe wanted to tank and get a new quarterback because they don't seem like they want to bring back Kirk Cousins anyway, to winning 4 straight games to now starting Jaron Hall, a rookie who was not like one of the best rookie quarterbacks. It's a mess for the Vikings. They got the win. They're listening to Creed. They're jamming out to some Creed in the locker room before the games. But I don't know, Jaron Hall. I don't know if he can really harness the power of Creed like Kirk Cousins can.
I don't know, man. I mean, if we listen to anything that we've learned about Scott Stapp, and just creep through the lyrics is, can you take me higher, man? Maybe Jaron Hall can. To a place where blind men see, you know? That's the thing. I mean, I got my arms wide open. I'm ready to accept him as new Vikings head quarterback. Anyway, yeah, it's a huge blow for them. I mean, it really has been one of Kirk Cousins' best years. And it's what does that mean? Because the Vikings still kind of suck. I mean, who knows? So he's having a good statistical year. They're still not in the hunt for anything. I mean, they look like maybe after having such a horrible start, maybe they seek into a wild card kind of deal. That's a possibility. But by the end of this, it was just kind of without Kirk Cousins, they don't have a shot at anything. It's time to embrace the tank. The GM of the Vikings, I bet, is sitting there just going, I hate my life. I could have traded Kirk Cousins, gotten probably maybe even a first rounder for the guy, and now not only does he not have Kirk Cousins anyway, he also has no draft pick for him. So, and that, folks, is why you tank. And when you can trade away people and you have no real shot at winning anything, just trade the guy, man. Like, it's okay. Like, I don't think Minnesota was going to sit there and go, oh my God, I can't believe you traded Kirk Cousins for a first round pick. I think most Vikings fans would have just gone, hell yes. I'm sick of that guy anyway. We weren't going to re-sign him. He's not worth the money. Let's go take our chance in the quarterback sweepstakes. I think Minnesota fans would be honestly excited for that prospect of change because what they've been seeing recently is not anything that is sustainable. So, it sucks for, Minnesota and those players' season to see Kirk Cousins go down, but ultimately it might be better off for the Vikings long term for Kirk Cousins to not be there so they can lose some games. But tough loss for them, and they get the win, but, at what cost?
Absolutely, I misspoke. The Vikings started 1-3 and then have won 3 games since then, so they're now 4-4. But the like you said, I'm with you. I think if you have a chance to tank in this league, you got to do it because being in the middle, we've seen has gotten teams nowhere. This point, start Jaron Hall the rest of the way. See what you got. Maybe don't bring back Justin Jefferson and risk any injury to him. But now you get in a situation where you can re-sign Kirk Cousins with a torn Achilles, maybe at a lower price, but you don't know what type of player you're getting. Not that mobility was really his big driving factor, but Achilles injuries are still serious. Or you have to go on the free agent market and sign someone because you already have 4 wins. If you win too many more of these games, you're not getting one of the top rookies. So it's going to be an interesting situation for Minnesota. They have new management in place, and they got rid of like Dalvin Cook and some of the other guys that have been so crucial to their team over the last several years. But it's definitely be interesting to see what they do in the offseason now, and we'll just have to keep on following along this season. Next game up, Cease, we have the tale of 2 different quarterbacks. We had Desmond Ridder getting benched for turning the ball over, fumbling a lot of the issue there. And we had Will Levis in his first career NFL start. 238 yards and 4 touchdowns. 3 of those were to DeAndre Hopkins. Now, Cease, I was of the opinion, like, Will Levis needed time to sit in college. He didn't read defenses the best. He trusted his arm too much. But he looked really good in this game. We're not saying that this is going to be like, hey, he's a finished product right now. But at the same time, he had a very good start to a career. And you might give them some more juice than Ryan Tannehill did. And it looks like Ryan Tannehill's out this week. So they're going to need Will Levis to play well again.
Right. I mean, you look at that game, and I mean, this will be a big test this week against the Steelers defense. But I mean, if you're a Titans organization, like, you know what Tannehill is, and Tannehill is washed at this point. That's really the reality with him. I mean, why not give Will Levis a shot? Honestly. I mean, again, I think they gave Malik Willis a shot last year, and he did nothing with it, and the Titans basically got bounced in the playoffs. It was so bad that Josh Dobbs basically had to do a spot start at the end of the season. So if you get Will Levis going, Will Levis just has to be as good as Ryan Tannehill, which is really not a high bar for anybody. we both agree that Will Levis has great arm talent. He's got the tools. He just doesn't, again, he can't read defenses. He struggled mightily with that kind of stuff at UK. And he just isn't polished or ready for the NFL. He's one of the younger QB prospects ever drafted. Um, so, I mean, really, if you're the Falcons, you just flat out are sitting there just going, you just underestimated your opponent. This is the NFL. You just assumed you were going to probably walk into this game with an easy victory against a rookie quarterback. And he came out firing. So hats off to him just going, I don't care. Like, I'm here to compete. I'm going to throw the go ball, whatever. I'll throw it up to DeAndre Hopkins, see what happens. And the Falcons just didn't adjust to it, didn't do anything. So, I mean, shame on them. It just shows you, how far that team still has to go. And, yeah, it just was not a good product. Bijan Robinson wasn't used as much as he probably should have been. Really, the offense really sputtered. Desmond Ridder had some turnovers. What's his leash? I don't know. Does it really matter if he's in there? You don't use your aerial attack at all anyway, so who knows? But maybe Taylor Heineke can be more successful. I mean, that's a stretch because, I mean, what is the margin for error with a quarterback in this system? Like, they throw 10 passes a game. Like, is it really that big a margin of error anyway? They're not throwing it downfield. Like, what does it matter? They might as well be running a triple option. So yeah, Falcons, I think, just fell asleep in this one for a team that's really not that talented and is in a tight race for a very winnable division. They let one kind of just slip away to a rookie quarterback who they probably, with the guys they have in the secondary and the way that defense has played this year, should have been a lot better.
I'm with you, Cecil. I do think Will Levis is the best option moving forward because at least you get someone to push the field vertically. And what did that do? Derrick Henry rushed for 101 yards on 22 carries. It finally seemed like he got going. This is, as we said, very tight AFC race. So if they get something going in these next couple games with Will Levis at quarterback, maybe they can get something done long-term this season. And also, you figure out if you have the quarterback. Because last year, with the whole season, we're sitting there wondering if they had anything with Malik Willis. And then Ryan Tannehill got hurt, and Willis got thrown into the fray and found out maybe they didn't. Now we actually get to see Will Levis for a couple games and see if he can come through. Next one up, Cease, we have the Saints beating the Colts 38-27. It looks like the Saints offense has really rebounded well after we kind of had some questions about them after last week. This is a game where Derek Carr had 310 yards passing and 2 touchdowns, really opened things up. And the Colts defense has some issues. This is a unit that we thought would be a little bit of a strength for them. We know that, Anthony Richardson isn't healthy, but they have 2 good running backs too. Just couldn't keep up offensively with a team that scored 38 points.
Yeah, I mean, nobody had this as one of their shootouts of the week, I'm sure. I mean, we did. We thought the Colts defense has been good. And, it was, like you said, it's supposed to be a strength this year. I think the Saints really came out of that game. I think Derek Carr has been fired up all week, probably. They had kind of that short mini bye week, 10 days off while they played on Thursday. I think from that point on, he was pissed. I mean, I think it's really just that simple. I mean, I would be too. You sit there and you go, we almost tied that game up and almost won. He was literally fell off our fingertips. And, that's one play, but the reality is there were a lot of plays where he was battling and people weren't running their routes. They weren't trying hard. They weren't communicating or, they didn't know what the route was or they just didn't think they would get the ball, so they didn't try as hard. And I think he got in that locker room and has been a motivating force. I think Derek Carr is a good quarterback. Not saying great, but I think he's good. And I think that extra time to game plan was a big benefit to them. The Colts offense keeps scoring points. I don't know how. They really don't. I have Jonathan Taylor back, which is great. But their receivers, Alec Pierce, those guys aren't anything to really just go, wow, they have a good receiver core. There's nothing even I'd say good. It's just very, I guess, solid. Like, these are solid role player guys, they have a receiver. But they're getting the job done, and Gardner Minshew's launching the ball downfield. And, I mean, it's more than a lot of NFL teams are willing to do these days. So, I mean, hats off to them. Let's go the old gunslinger offense, and, we're going to get some interceptions. We're going to have a lot of incomplete balls. We might go some 3-and-outs. But, man, we're going to nail a 40-yard pass every once in a while, and that could change the whole game. And maybe we nail a couple, and we're in a shootout.
Yeah, absolutely. And Rashid Shaheed had 3 catches, 153 yards, and a touchdown. The criticism of Derek Carr was he wasn't giving his guys an opportunity to do anything deep. He was just checking it down to Kamara, which is great for my fantasy teams, don't get me wrong. But he needs to open things up. They did in that game. The last 3 games for the Colts, Cease, they've given up 37 points to the Jaguars, 39 points to the Browns with their quarterback issues and offense, and then 38 to the Saints. They have to get things figured out pretty quickly because that's not going to win in many games in the NFL level. So maybe a trend to watch for the Colts. The Saints, this NFC playoff picture, you win a couple more games, you're right there in the thick of it since they're 4-4 right now. So we'll see how they do down the stretch as well. Next one up, seems we have the Dolphins beating the Patriots 31-17. I don't have too much on this game because it's sort of what we expected from this one. I will say that Tua Tagovailoa is 6-0 against Bill Belichick in his career. That is the greatest record for a quarterback against Bill Belichick all time.
No, I mean the Dolphins put them away again. A lot of these Patriots games have kind of started the same way, where the Patriots kind of get off decently well, and part of that's the scripting, right? I think Bill Belichick can script and kind of figure stuff out from a game plan perspective throughout the week very well. He's one of the best coaches in the NFL history. I don't think anyone can dispute that, even what's going on now. What I think he doesn't do super well is I don't think he's been adjusting very well, and I just think the personnel on the field is not that great. I mean, all the Dolphins players had another great game. Tyreek Hill clips over 1,000 yards in 8 games. That's unreal. Raheem Mostert was a little hurt, so he didn't have the elite game. Jeff Wilson's back too to kind of share the carries. It sucks the Patriots that Kendrick Bourne's out. That's probably their best offensive weapon, I'd say, especially when it comes to actually making a play downfield because, we've got Hunter Henry. That's not going to really move the ball downfield. He's a great safety blanket. He's great there to get a couple, yards when he needed it on third down. But he's not the guy you're sending down on a go route or, a post 20 yards up the field. So, I mean, that's a blow for them. It doesn't really matter. Patriots are probably – I never thought I would say the Patriots are one of the worst teams in the NFL. I thought we were going to see a very average team for a while, but this team is just – this team has literally gone below all expectations. And I'm kind of mad. I wish I had just gone, to the sports books and bet, something on Bill Belichick to have the worst record. I would have probably gotten some excellent odds.
Definitely would. There was so much faith. I mean, if you look at the roster, the build-up, it's not very good. I think a lot of the benefit of the doubt was just Bill Belichick being Bill Belichick. And they'll still have their games where they beat teams that they should because of him. They'll still have games where they game plan well, but they've had so many corner injuries, and they never really had too much offensive talent to begin with, and now Kendrick Bourne's out for the season. It's looking like a year where maybe they should start losing some games and looking for a new quarterback. So we'll see how that goes the rest of the way. Dolphins now travel to Germany. We're going to pick that game against the Chiefs, really big one over in Frankfurt, so that's going to be something to watch out for later. See, so maybe one of the worst games in NFL history. The Jets beat the Giants 13-10. We had Tyrod Taylor get hurt and go to the hospital, be checked out. I haven't heard anything since or seen anything. It seems like he's okay. But then they had Tommy DeVito step into the game. Now, Tommy DeVito played college football at Syracuse, was not very highly thought of as a prospect. Pretty much just on the roster because Daniel Jones was hurt, and now Daniel Jones has been cleared to come back. Tommy DeVito went 2 of 7 for -1 yards. He got sacked twice for 9 yards. He ran the ball 4 times for 12 yards. Not very good. Probably not the worst performance the Giants have ever seen a quarterback, though. It was a rainy game, I'll give him that. But the Jets come back. They get a late field goal after they throw the ball deep. The center spots the ball. The referee does not touch it at all, doesn't really set it. Some people who are fans of the Jets say, well, the center did a good job of spotting the ball by lining it up with the line judge. People who are not fans of the Jets are saying, hey, the center can't spot the ball. It has to be the referee. Jets get the field goal. They end up getting a field goal in overtime and winning the game. Lots of controversy there, but the Jets win and win an ugly one.
They really do. And, 2 years ago when this came up at the end of the much maligned Cowboys 49ers matchup, not last year but the year before, where they didn't give the ball, they kept trying to take the ball from the ref. The ref has to set the ball. Like, you need to literally, like, hold the ball, and as soon as the ref's sitting there at the line, you literally you give them the ball and go, here you go, please set the ball. And then you snap it. But, like, just the awareness, you got to understand you got to give the ball to the ref. Or either that or you sprint to the line and you give it to the ref that's going to set the ball. But, love of God, like, give them the ball. Like, that's what you need to understand. While you can all start setting up and lining stuff up while he's setting the ball. So just give him the ball instead of freaking out. Like, I get it. There's a lot of adrenaline. There's a lot of stuff going on. It's an NFL game. Every second is ticking down and you're trying to get the ball off. But you literally, like, need to know this. It's just situationally. Like, I don't know how many times you got to say it. It's just got to be known that you, like, if you're the center of an NFL team, you should know from the get go. The first thing in training camp, you should say in red zone drill, your coach should say to you is, no matter what, you got to make sure the ref touches the ball and sets it. Otherwise, nothing is going to happen. Like, literally, it's happened 2 times. The refs aren't just going to go, okay, he set the ball, we're good. They're going to literally keep trying to take it away from you, and the clock's going to keep still running. So
Jets got away with one there.
Yeah, it's just like it's stupid shit. Like, it's just not that hard. It really isn't. There's basic rules. That's my rant on this garbage game. I mean, we're talking 23 total points, and that's bad. Like, that's just some of the worst product I've ever heard of on a field. And to think that the two teams in one of the biggest markets in the world have put together 2 teams. Jets at least tried. The Jets, Aaron Rodgers, they put their eggs in that basket. It didn't happen. Fine. That, I will give them a little bit of a pass for their offense. Their defense is really good. The Giants just suck. Like, they didn't have a good plan. I don't think this game would have really changed that much with Daniel Jones. I really don't. Like, maybe we would have gotten 26 points. But the reality is the offense for them is horrible. They just traded away one of their star defensive linemen, so they are officially sellers. Officially, not Gettleman. Their new GM is basically just shipping people out, which I think that's a good move, and I think it's just they can't keep this up. It sucks to see them having to kind of go through a rebuild, and I don't know what that means for Brian Daboll long term. But the reality is, Daniel Jones should have never been given that contract. They should have paid him less and just said, if you don't want it, take a hike. I know that's easy to say in hindsight, but I said the same thing last year. You can look it up. I said, don't pay Daniel Jones all this money. Literally, it's not worth it. You're backing yourself into a corner with a guy that I don't think can win. And, he's trying to leverage you. Leverage him. Where is Daniel Jones going to go? And the reality is, like, he probably would have gone somewhere, but no one else was going to pay him the money the Giants were. The Giants were the ones that were desperate for Daniel Jones, and he knew it, and they took advantage. And there's nothing wrong with a player taking advantage of the opportunity. That's how, business works. It's a market. He played them, and he's got a hell of an agent who played the hell out of the New York Giants brass. But if you're the GM, you got to sit there and go, this is on you, and ultimately – Brian Daboll should not be blamed for this. If anything, the GM should get fired before he does, but, that's not usually how it works in the NFL. So.
Yeah, it doesn't. If I were Brian Daboll, I'd be going kicking and screaming saying, do not give me this guy as the quarterback again. I got the most out of him. But maybe he got Josh Allen to a point that was really good. Maybe he had too much faith in him, his ability to turn guys around or make them so much better. And I don't know. I feel like you could have gotten a better quarterback for a lesser price, or drafted a quarterback, or done so many different things that would have got.
I think they're doing better with Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah, you'll see if he's able to play. I mean, Daniel Jones is cleared, but it might be a point where you turn to Tyrod Taylor full time if he's able to go. All right, we'll stick with the ugly game, Cease. The Jaguars beat the Steelers 20-10. Not a lot of good football here, to be honest. Both quarterbacks had some issues. ETN left the game, came back. Evan Ingram had a nice game, 88 yards, but I got nothing. This was just an ugly, ugly game in the weather, and exactly how you picture a game going for Pittsburgh Steelers football.
Yeah, it was bad. Kenny Pickett got hurt. Who cares? Mitch Trubisky came in, can't throw to his left. Um, it's just, I mean, it's a mess. It's a mess over there for the Steelers. They don't have a real offense. George Pickens should just get the ball at all times. He's really the only thing that's worth anything, ultimately. And yeah, Jaguars lean on ETN, who's having honestly a heck of a season so far. Like just really, just from a stats standpoint, that guy is really just taken off. So hats off to him. The Jaguars' offense, Calvin Ridley had some drops, some plays he wants back, and yeah, again, the Jaguars are a very beatable team. They're another team where, sure, they have a good record right now. Some people keep picking them basically to go to the AFC Championship game and lose the Chiefs. That whole narrative. But the reality is, I think the Jaguars have just been doing good, not great this whole time. And I think this playoff picture is going to look a lot different come another month from now. Because ultimately, I think the Jaguars are going to win the AFC South. Don't have any doubt in that. But they come playoff time, I don't trust them. And again, I don't think they have Calvin Ridley. That's one thing that's better. A lot of the roster's the same, and they basically backdoored a come from behind victory, one of the biggest meltdowns in Chargers history. They're not going to play the Chargers in the playoffs every year, so they can't always have the Chargers charger. So we'll see what happens with this team, and I need them to take another step forward before anybody can really just say like, these guys are it. They are beating up on very mediocre teams.
Even their win against the Bills, we're finding out the Bills are struggling right now, so it doesn't make as much sense. And also, that was in London, where the Jaguars feel more familiar than most teams. So definitely not the 6-2 team that you would think they would be. Next one up, since we have the Eagles winning 38-31 over the Commanders. The Commanders always seem to give the Eagles trouble, and they did. The Commanders were winning this one at halftime. Sam Howell had a very good first half. He looks like he could be a decent quarterback in the league. I know we go back and forth on that some weeks, but overall he's played okay in a situation that maybe isn't ideal. They end up losing in the second half. If you're smart like me and Cecil, maybe you live bet the Eagles to win that one at halftime and let them come back. A.J. Brown had a pretty good game with 130 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jalen Hurts is playing hurt right now and is still turning the ball over too much, but they're getting wins. As a result of the losses, the Commanders have decided to sell everyone. Chase Young's been traded. Montez Sweat's been traded. It's a new ownership group. They're likely going to fire Ron Rivera at the end of the year. Probably going to change the name. All the players, I think, are just pretty much gone. It's back to rebuild mode for the Commanders.
Yeah, I mean, we want to talk about some big moods. We'll talk about probably when we get to the teams they went to. But, Chase Young and Montez Sweat both just getting nixed. I mean, probably the strength of their entire team is that defensive line and that front seven, really. And they just took two big names off from there. So, yeah, it's when you see that happening and you're a player on that team, you see some of the guys who you really go, wow, those guys are really talented, just get basically mortgaged off. That's when if you're Sam Howell too, you're just kind of going, shit. Well, I don't know if I'm gonna have a job next year. When you're that kind of bridge quarterback, who's gonna keep you is Rob. The next regime's probably not gonna go, I want Sam Howell to be my guy. So it sucks. Everybody on that team, you never know. They might play harder because of it, because it's kind of one of those, everyone's kind of playing for a job, and whoever wants to kind of stick to this roster is going to have to start putting on a show. And, Sam Howell, I think, is accomplishing that. But, yeah, I don't think anybody's safe right now. With those guys gone, those were probably the best, some of the most talented guys on the whole team. There's maybe, one handful of guys that I would say are, guys you could build around. The rest of them are replaceable guys.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad for them that they started trading those guys away and getting the rebuild started, because the trade deadline was pretty uneventful other than the Commanders. There was a couple other trades, but those were the major pieces. So, like you said, we'll talk about that later. We'll talk about the Eagles when their upcoming game with the Cowboys and make our picks. We'll keep it moving to the Panthers beating the Texans 15-13. The Panthers got a last-second field goal to win. This game was pretty ugly in a different sense. I mean, it was close, but battle of rookie quarterbacks, and they didn't play all that well either. And Bryce Young had 235 yards and a touchdown in the win. Congrats for the Panthers for getting their first win of the season, but at the end of the day, pretty boring game overall, Cease.
Yeah, it really was. I don't have too much to say. C.J. Stroud didn't have the best game. The offense really did. I don't know how where you fall on this, but that they like basically like carried the kicker off the field, um, who has been a much maligned kicker, who's missed them. That Bears game last year comes to mind with the Panthers. Eddie Pinheiro, like I got nothing against him personally, but like, what is this? Like we're celebrating, we just won one game, like like I will never understand the team celebrating their first win of the season when you're like one of the worst teams in football. And that's fine. You go, good job. I'm glad we got the win. Like we got over that hump. But like to just like raise your kicker in the air after, and it's not like you had a decisive game. Like you won by a field goal, 15-13. Like, and if anything, they're getting these like stupid, this weird like continuous fouls that keep happening at the end of the game. And it was a sloppy mess. And they like sit there and just be like, wow, this is awesome. And then I think one of the players got hurt in the celebration. It's tacky. It looks bad. I'm not a Panthers fan. I'm just looking at this, just going, what are we doing? Like it's just like I don't care. Like there's not everybody gets a trophy. Congrats, you got a win. You can all go cool. Let's build on it. I'm proud of you guys for getting the win. But let's not act like we just won and accomplished something. We accomplished something that usually 16 teams without buys will accomplish in the NFL every week. So maybe you should stop acting like this. You just won something of significance and go, we still got a lot of work to do. That's my thought.
I don't know. Go for it. Go celebrate. It was. You know what? I think if it was any position player catching a game-winning touchdown, I'm cool with it. Kickers, I just have something against. But you know what? Screw it. Celebrate. Go have fun. It's the Panthers. They're not going anywhere this year, and we have like in locker room fighting with like Hayden Hurst saying like we need people to take things serious with the ping pong table going in the background and stuff. It's like a whole thing. So go celebrate. Who cares? But either way. Both rookie quarterbacks have shown that they need some room for improvement, even though C.J. Stroud has probably had the better year so far.
I love like the NFL's like weird relationship with ping pong tables. Some teams like love it, and it's like it's their whole like team bonding thing. But it's like the first thing everybody fixates on as soon as things start going wrong. They're like, it's that ping pong table, man. People are playing ping pong too much, and that's why we're losing games. It's like, how much ping pong how much are you playing? Like maybe I didn't do the best sometimes in college, but I didn't sit there and just go, Mario Kart's the reason it's ruining my life, bro. Like it's just kind of like you're just trying to like find a scapegoat, like, and then they do this big symbolic like the ping pong table's getting put away, guys. It's time. Like, oh my God, suddenly your team's gonna go on a massive win streak because nobody's playing ping pong. God forbid the 30 minutes will suddenly be used to such a maximum potential. So I love it. It's like it's same thing in corporate America. I feel like it's like the default like pizza party to reward people and then create a better work environment. We get a ping pong table. But as soon as shit hits the fan, it's the ping pong table that ruined everything. So it's a hard world. I would not want to be a ping pong table. This, this side of the Great Wall of China. I'm gonna be honest. There, I feel like they have an awesome time.
I bet they do, and you're right, Cease. I think it is something corporate America. They give you the nice treats when things are going okay, but God knows it's always the ping pong table's fault. Or like if your parents growing up, like, oh, no more video games if you got a C on a test. Well, I'll tell you what. Sometimes I'm just not very smart. I'll tell you, no amount of studying is going to fix that. The ping pong table's not the problem. It's my stupid brain. So. Definitely something that goes on all the time, and I always find it funny that like, who cares if there's a ping pong table? I know they're playing, and sometimes they're gambling for loads of money because they're professionals. Let them have some fun. Who cares? The Panthers having a ping pong table is not going to take them from a 1-win team to a 10-win team. Who cares?
I don't know. I'd like someone to do an analytical study.
All right. Well, yeah, we're going to find that out. What teams have ping pong tables? How well do they do? What teams don't? How well do they do? We're going to kind of compare the notes and see how they do and figure it all out. That's going to be great research.
I know for a fact Bill Belichick and the Patriots probably do not have a ping pong table.
Okay, that's going to skew the sample then a little bit, I think. But oh well. All right, next one up, Cease. The Seahawks beat the Browns 24-20. Now, the Seahawks took the very early lead. Went up by a lot, thought maybe, hey, they're going to get this one in the bag, run out the clock with Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. But the Browns came back and actually took the lead 20-17 in the third quarter. It took a late touchdown from Geno Smith to help win the game 24-20. So maybe the Seahawks taking their foot off the gas a little bit. We know the Browns' quarterback situation is bad, so they can't score a ton of points, even though they scored 20 in this game. So good win for the Seahawks. Only 2 losses on the year, and for the Browns, it's the same. It's the same old issues with the quarterbacks and everything else.
Last I checked, I don't think the weather was really good again. That was the weather in this game.
I think it was all right.
I think it was. I couldn't tell by the little screen on NFL Sunday Ticket. It's Seattle, so it probably could have not rained, but it looks like it's like the saddest day possible. It's okay if you live in Seattle. I apologize, but you get it. Anyway, yeah, I mean the Seahawks look like they had this in the bag to start. You know, you get up like that on a team who can't score points, and then just stupid mistakes happen. The Browns are just, they're a very frustrating team because they literally, it's just like, they're a decent quarterback away from actually being good. And I don't want that because I hate the Browns with passion. I really do. And, I'm not keeping an unbiased opinion about this. Like, you can judge me on a lot of things, but when it comes to the Browns, no, I'm not dealing with it. I'm just actually mentally frustrated by the teams that play the Browns and the game plans they put up and just the dumb things that happen in these games. I literally cannot bet them because of the stupid stuff that happens in these games. Like, if they are unbettable. Like, if you're a Cleveland fan, like Cleveland Browns fan, you're probably happier to play them half the time because you keep just blindly betting the Cleveland Browns. You probably for every win probably bet another $100 on a Browns Super Bowl victory. Like, I don't know. I don't get it. I don't know what the Cleveland Browns are. I know their defense is really good, and when their offense has the ball, they just better hope to God the running back breaks off like a 30-yard run. So hats off to them. They keep playing these games, somehow getting back. They lose this one. They're still 4-2. What's this going to look like over a 17-game sample? I couldn't tell you right now.
I couldn't either. The fact that P.J. Walker has a negative EPA per play still, and I know I said it last week, and just still keeping them in games is crazy. It shows you how much talent that defense has. Geno did throw 2 picks to kind of slow things down for the Seahawks, but man, I don't know how they're doing that. I know I picked the Seahawks to win and cover in this game, and they ended up pushing based on the pick that I got earlier in the week at -4. So it's a whole thing. I don't know how we figure out what the Browns are doing. Next game up sees the Broncos upset the Chiefs 24-9. We did not see this one coming. Patrick Mahomes did have the flu, and we know the big flu game for Michael Jordan turned into like one of the greats of all time. For Patrick Mahomes, he threw 2 interceptions. And the Broncos, I mean, really just shut them down. First win over them since, I believe, 2015. It's been a long time, so I guess props to the Broncos and the Chiefs. Still feel like they're a very good team, but this was probably the worst they could have played.
Yeah, and I'm not going to put too much into the Chiefs for this. It may suck if they end up losing home field advantage because of this game. Shame on news outlets for reporting this at 11:30 a.m. That Pat Mahomes has the flu, and feels not good. That was literally what the report said. The report was Patrick Mahomes has had the flu for several days. And he this morning said he does not feel very good, but is going to play. That was the literal headline, almost word for word. That would have been great, for gambling purposes to not bet on the Chiefs. I would have not bet on them at all. That's the point of not waiting till Sunday to put things in. But man, I couldn't have expected the whole offense to perform as poorly as it did. And the Broncos offense didn't do anything either. It was not really that. It wasn't out of the Chiefs' range pretty much almost the entire time. The Chiefs could have scored a touchdown and been winning this game for 3 quarters. The Broncos aren't good. Pat Mahomes being, sick. But that's the way it goes. You have one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, probably the best right now. He's sick and not close to 100%. That's what your team's going to look like. We just saw it with the Bengals, right? Joe Burrow wasn't 100%, and they looked horrible. That's what franchise quarterbacks do for a team. When they are healthy, they elevate the whole team, and you have to pay them so much anyway that everything works with them. If they don't work and they're hurt, or if they are playing and not playing 100%, this is kind of the product you get, where you're just like, it's kind of weird to watch because you're just sitting there like expecting the same stuff you always get, and then you just see interceptions, errant throws, and I mean, yeah, it's just the Chiefs' offense right now is basically Travis Kelsey and then Pat Mahomes trying to be Superman, and he just couldn't do it today, man. It's hard to do that when you got the flu. It's hard for me to go to work too. I can imagine playing an NFL game feeling awful like that. But hats off to him for getting it. Hindsight, was it the best idea to do that? Maybe not. It honestly may have hurt his season. His MVP, voting, all that stuff. Maybe. So yeah, sometimes it's better to not have played than to play sick like that, because I think Andy Reid and the backups, as the Chiefs have shown through the years before Patrick Mahomes, could still be in games. And I think this was a very winnable game if you had to play the backup. It's Patrick Mahomes. So he said he could play, and you got to trust that. It didn't work out.
Yeah, my only thing with this game, other than the fact that you're right, it seemed like Patrick Mahomes just got injected with the flu at like 11 a.m. for no reason, because that's the first we heard about it, is that it should be illegal to clear the snow off of a field, because we were promised a snow game. We had like a Air Force game that was snowing the night before, also in Colorado, obviously, and they cleared the field and it made it a non-snow game. That should be illegal. I don't want to hear anyone say, "Oh, well, it's the best teams. You want to see them play on turf and in a dome." No, I want to see snow games. I want to see sloppy weather. I said some of the games earlier were ugly. They were still must-watch games, even how bad they were. Bad football is sometimes better than average football. I'm just going to go ahead and say that. No more clearing off the fields. Let's get some more snow games in there. All right, next one up, we have the Ravens beating the Cardinals 31-24. Ravens had this one in the bag to let the Cardinals come back late to get a backdoor cover. The big news here for the Ravens is Gus Edwards had 19 carries, 80 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And then he said, "I feel like I can handle more of the load, a bigger load this week." So we'll see how that goes. He is one of the running backs with the highest yards per carry if you have at least 200 career carries in his career. After this game, the Cardinals decided to trade Josh Dobbs to the Vikings, who's going to be filling in for Kirk Cousins after Jameis Winston decided to stay in New Orleans and compete for the starting job that they have seemingly not wanted to give him. Josh Dobbs will be starting for the Vikings most likely soon, and we'll see how that goes. And now they're going to be turning the offense over to Clayton Tune this week before Kyler Murray's ready to come back. So they're embracing the tank. They're doing a good job of that, I guess. Let's see what happens here on out for the Cardinals.
Yeah, Josh Dobbs doing too good a job. Not good enough to win game like a lot of games, but good enough to ruin your tank. You don't want that. You want somebody who's incompetent, or at least young, to maybe you think maybe we can build with this guy. Josh Dobbs unfortunately does not fit either category. He's now going to the Vikings. They'll probably win them some more games and defeat the whole tank of the Vikings. So good for you, Josh Dobbs. You are talented enough. I think you can be a spot starter in this league, and I think you're doing a good job. But it's not a good thing where honestly a fan base should go when you sign Josh Dobbs or trade for Josh Dobbs. You go, this is not a good sign. Like it just isn't. Cardinals, good job embracing the tank. You're going to get killed, got killed by the Ravens a good amount. It really wasn't an ass-kicking, though, the way we expected. There was a lot of tomfoolery, as they'll put it, in this game. A lot of just looking at the Ravens just weren't really pouring it on. And that's something that I've seen with their offense through the years, especially when it was the ball control offense. And that was just part of just eating the clock out. But, man, there are some of these Ravens games that is just dull. It's dull. Like it's rough to watch, and you're just like, I guess they're gonna grate this out for another 55 minutes, but it's like a very different style of football, and it's something. So Ravens get the win in the desert. Good for them. Cardinals, good job embracing the tank. You got to go all in on that. Caleb Williams, Marvin Harrison Jr. 1-2 pick. Yeah, do everything you can to make it happen. That'd be sweet.
That would be pretty awesome. Move on to our last of the 4 p.m. Eastern Time games. See, the Cincinnati Bengals win 31-17. Yes, sir. The 49ers came in a little bit banged up and on a losing skid, but they had won 11 straight at home, so no excuses there. The Bengals defense deserves a lot of credit. They forced 2 Brock Purdy interceptions, and, arguably they should have won this game by more, but I think Bengals fans will take the fact that most importantly to anything else, Joe Burrow looks like he's back. He's evading pressure in the pocket. He had that one play where he got out of the grasp of a tackle and then threw it downfield and converted a first down. He's playing maybe too unscared for many people. Like maybe he needs to slide a little bit more, protect the future investment. But generally, feeling great about the Bengals beating the 49ers in San Francisco, no matter how banged up they are. And also feeling great about Joe Burrow's health now.
Yeah, for real. This game went way better than most Bengals fans could have hoped. We hats off to both of us for picking the money line Bengals straight up in our picks last week. I know there was some talk about the concussion protocol of Brock Purdy. He did end up playing, which honestly I'm happy because I think that makes us win even that much more savory versus playing Sam Darnold. But this was a game where this is what the Bengals can be when everything's firing. They are a team that can win a Super Bowl. Obviously, I know the 49ers were not 100%. I don't know anybody in the NFL is 100% 8 weeks in. I don't think we saw them at their best. The 49ers did add Chase Young. So, that's going to be a huge addition for them, in that playoff push. But, I'll give it to you. The Bengals offensive line played decently well, minus that kind of first, drive or so where they were getting a lot of pressure on them. But really, Joe Burrow was not getting hit a bunch. And honestly, he was making great plays. And, it scares me watching him do these QB draws. He literally did audible into a QB draw for 9 yards. He's hopping up, hitting himself in the head. Like we said, he might be the Cincinnati Maniac after this season. He keeps doing stuff like this. But, yeah, let's do a slide. Joe Burrow isn't like some big guy. Like, he's bigger than you think he is. But, let's get some slides. I'm totally fine with him using his mobility. It's a great sign for us who have been like, this guy cannot move. And I think that's a huge underrated part of his game is that twitchiness he does have. And it was on full display in this game. Jamar Chase was everywhere. And, I think the thing that impressed me a lot about this Bengals team, too, is, I think they proved that they have answers and can adjust throughout the game in this. I think the under center plays really have helped the offense now. I think it makes them less one-dimensional. I think it helps the running game a lot. But, they were basically playing zone the whole game. And they pretty much went, that's fine. And Joe Burrow just kept slicing up that zone. And then at the end, they finally went, no, we're going to man. Zone's not working. And then Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase made him pay for it with a dart to the end zone. So when Joe Burrow plays like this, and we're talking the guy, I think he had 89% completion percentage in this game. Mm-hmm. That's unreal. I think he had 19 straight completions. For all those people out there who were talking about the completions of someone else had a completion streak this weekend. I forget who it was, but they were talking about it like it was like the greatest thing to ever happen. Oh, it was Justin Herbert. That's right. Mm-hmm. They really went all on about Justin Herbert's completion streak, which was like 15-16. But Joe Burrow threw 19 in a row, and it was like just kind of assumed. So weird stuff sometimes the NFL media I'll call out. But, yeah, Joe Burrow looked fantastic. The Bengals defense looked really good. Basically the only thing they didn't have an answer for was the kind of the George Kittle over the middle of the field, which I don't like, but I feel like the way Enrimo throws this defense together is he's kind of okay. If that's the thing that's going to go through, I think he's just kind of accepts that a little bit more. That's the kind of defense he runs is making those big plays and then not, giving up touchdowns in the red zone. So if this is kind of the intermediate, George Kittle had a hell of a game because of it. But it seemed like the Bengals were just fine with Brock Purdy checking it down to George Kittle in the middle of the field for 10 yards. And If that was what the game plan was for the 49ers, that's fine. They weren't going to let them get these huge plays down the field and score, changing plays. And more important, they weren't going to let Christian McCaffrey blow up this game. So great game for the Bengals here. 49ers definitely want this one back. I think this was a big impetus along with the Seahawks trading for the defensive tackle of the Giants. Was a big impetus for them to get more firepower because this 49ers team is on a 3-game losing streak right now. They're on a skid. They still have a really good chance to be in the Super Bowl this year. They really do. The Eagles have looked good at times, but not great. Same thing with the Cowboys. And they are banged up. So maybe you get this extra pass rusher just like they got Christian McCaffrey last year. I think it's more than worth, a third-round pick for this guy. I would 100% trade a third-round pick for a half a season to Chase Young if I thought that was a piece that would help me get to the Super Bowl. And I think 100% it will. We'll see what happens in the playoffs with them, but 49ers team's still good. But, Brock Purdy made some decisions in this. He probably wasn't 100%, and this is a game the 49ers want back. And I'm just excited as a Bengals fan because it's the first game this year. It's a statement game. You go into San Francisco, you go into Santa Clara, you get a good, convincing win, and Joe Burrow looks like he can be himself again. And with that, going into a huge Sunday night matchup this week.
Absolutely. 3 quick points before we move on. 1, 49ers are 3-6 when Trent Williams does not play since he's been in San Francisco. So something to watch out for with future picks and future possibly playoff implications as he is aging, something we noted before with our preseason picks that he was just super vital to this team. Number 2, not happy with the Bengals not making a move at the deadline. A lot of players could have been had on the cheap. I'm not saying we need to give up a second-round pick for Chase Young, but backup running back and a tight end could have been had for a late-round pick swap, 6th, 7th-round pick. Would have loved to see the Bengals go all in. They have like $10 million cap space right now for the rest of the season. So if you have guys on expiring contracts, you can afford that. And a lot of cap room next year. I know there's players that need to sign, but they could have tried to go a little bit more all in to get this Super Bowl if they really believe they're going to get there. And then number 3, just a little bit of a victory lap here. And I hate to do it because it's at the expense of someone, but Nick Scott is the 87th ranked safety out of 87 on PFF. And I'm not the person who's like, PFF means everything. But Cecil, we've noted he's been not the greatest. And all last offseason, I got yelled at for taking Brian Branch in a mock draft. They didn't get Brian Branch. They got Jordan Battle, who looks like he's good in limited snaps and probably going to take that role. So, even when you're right, you're never going to hear the apologies. Oh, Nick Scott's getting paid starter money. They're not going to draft a safety. Well, they did draft a safety eventually, and he's not playing that well. The free agent they signed is not playing that well because he has a history of being average at best at safety. I'm done. 87 out of 87. What are you going to do? Crazy.
Yeah, it's bad when and the broadcasts are going, he's rotating with a rookie. So he's rotating with Jordan Battle. That's not a good sign for somebody who just got signed the money he did to be a starter. That means they don't have faith in you. And I'll say this too. I don't hate Nick Scott, but he is frustrating as hell. And honestly, the man he's got blinders on. He can literally only do like one thing at a time. And once he's set on what he's going to do in a play, no matter what it adjusts to, he is screwed. And he will get burned 1,000 times if it depends on him. He guesses wrong almost all the time. His instincts are bad. And yeah, it's not a good look. And it does worry me. He hasn't killed us yet too much. I'm hoping, Jordan Battle just continues to get a little better. But I could see, Nick Scott's not going to be here long term. So.
Yeah, hopefully he provides some depth for Jordan Battle down the stretch. Jordan Battle steps in because Battle was the number 1 coverage safety in college football last year, but plays strong safety and also has shown he's good in the box. So he's more of the guy you want to start getting reps to, I would think. But I'll take a quick victory lap since I'm never going to get those apologies from all those Bengals fans who called me idiot, even though I was right. So, yeah. Yeah, it is. Very, very tough. Let's move on, though, Cecil. We'll take an easy one here. Sunday Night Football. Chargers beat the Bears 30-13. The Bears are a mess. Tyson Bagent, second start. We know second starts for first-time quarterbacks are usually worse than the first start. That definitely was true. Chargers played well. You mentioned Justin Herbert's completion thing there as well. But the Bears traded for Montez Sweat. Gave up, a pretty good pick for him. And at the end of the day, they're a team who's tanking, so it made no sense unless they were going to sign him to extension. And usually that's done by the GM talking to the agent and seeing if there's interest. But Montez Sweat said today, I don't know if I want to sign an extension yet. I'm going to see how things play out. So Ryan Poles, the GM of the Bears, have to start questioning his moves. I mean, the Chase Claypool, the moving down from 1 to 9, maybe not in the sense of like, hey, we're going to give Justin Fields another year. That's fine if you want to do that. But, and getting DJ Moore is fine. But, you could have maybe moved down a couple spots lighter or taken Jalen Carter with pick number 9 too. But it's seemingly going to be a mess here for the Bears.
Yeah, it's an absolute mess over there. Yeah, I mean, I get it. Like, let's think outside the box a little bit. Montez Sweat's a good player, but he's a free agent, and if he leaves, you just wasted a draft pick of a guy you could have probably be a starter for 4 years. Just is gone, just disappeared into the wind. And you're not a good team either, so we're talking like a top 40 pick. And there are plenty of guys we know that don't get drafted in the first round that, day 2 starts when we do the draft every year. And there's like a handful of guys we already go, I really hope that they draft this guy or they're getting an absolute steal in this guy. Those guys are at the beginning of the second round every year. And that's the Bears basically mortgage away in this. If they get Montez Sweat, they sign a long-term deal, fine. I think Montez Sweat has a good chance to equal whatever the potential of that second round pick is, especially when it comes to edge rushers, because they aren't really making it to the beginning of the second as much anymore. And those guys take a while to get started. So that's fine. But if he leaves, you look dumb. I'm one of those guys where it's like, you got to have that extension kind of in place when you do it. If you don't, it's too big a risk. You go, that's just not it. I don't know who else was really trying that hard to get Montez Sweat anyway. Chase Young went for a third rounder. I think Chase Young's better, to be honest. But that's just me. There's a lot to kind of be said about that. Chargers have a good game. Austin Eckler, great. I mean, just dominates when he catches the ball out of the backfield. Bears had no answer for it. And it was a big reason for Justin Herbert's completions. Big thing I'm going to say about this is more of a rant, so bear with me. A lot of Chargers games on my television. Not that I mind it. I do enjoy watching the Chargers. And I like watching like Justin Herbert in that offense. But like this weird like obsession with Justin Herbert by the national media is at times a little annoying. And especially like it'd be one thing if he's won something, but they haven't won anything yet. And it's getting frustrating to the point where these guys just are in shock and awe of this guy. And I think he's a good quarterback, and I think he has a chance to be great in this league. But until they actually win something, I'm sick of everyone talking about him like he is elite. I think Justin Herbert has elite talent, but he is not an elite quarterback. And I think that difference needs to be shown. And, as a Bengals fan with Joe Burrow, who gets, talked about at times and gets his due at some points. But there's other points in games where you're just sitting there and you're just watching, like, Deshaun Watson's another one, Justin Herbert, where, like, there's just, like, it's NFL's, like, idea that they got to build up the brand of every quarterback of every team. Because, like, that's their, I get it's a marketing thing, sure. But these guys aren't Peyton Manning. They're not Tom Brady. And, like, you act like they are just fantastic in every way. And, like, throwing the ball downfield and throwing a pretty ball doesn't mean anything if you're barely making the playoffs, you're losing a game you shouldn't have lost the playoffs and got embarrassed, and you got a head coach who's bad at making game-time in-game decisions. So that's my rant on the Chargers. They're going to keep charging, it seems. And, Justin Herbert, I don't know if he's going to be one of those guys. Like, it almost feels like there's a chance he might John Elway this for a long time or something. Where it's just basically like, there's this like, oh, John Elway's awesome or the legend of John Elway, but it's like for years, John Elway just got like destroyed in Super Bowls. And the people were like, he was talented, but they didn't win anything. So it's reminding me, it's not even Philip Rivers because Philip Rivers won playoff games. Philip Rivers was in the thick of it, especially earlier on in their career. This Chargers teams did win games; they just couldn't get it to the Super Bowl. Justin Herbert's team has literally done nothing yet. They want to crown these guys as like one of the elite teams in the AFC, and basically they're just being like, oh, if the Chiefs weren't there, the Chargers would basically be amazing. It's like they haven't played the Chiefs in the playoffs yet, so what is the reason they haven't made it to an AFC division? Why are they getting bounced out of the wild card? Why is that their only playoff appearance? So maybe that'll change this year, but it doesn't look like because the record's not been that great. They're still on the outside looking in. That can change quickly. But that's my Chargers rant. They get a good win. They beat the heck out of the Bears, who, we kind of Tyson Bagent kind of came back to earth, and the offense just did not look very good at all. So Chargers get an easy win, and that's Sunday night for you.
Yeah, that was not a game worth watching, like we mentioned. I'm with you, Justin Herbert. Very good pick when they picked him. Very good player right now, but sometimes it does seem a little bit overhyped for the situation in the Chargers. I feel like it's just like one of those things where they have players who are very good at their jobs, very good at their positions, like Justin Herbert at quarterback, Austin Eckler at running back, Keenan Allen at wide receiver. But like as a team, it doesn't fully come together, and a lot of that is they're not good in the trenches too. So an important factor that maybe the media doesn't talk about quite enough. So let's move on to Monday Night Football season. The Lions beat the Raiders 26-14. Don't have too much to talk about in terms of the Lions other than Jahmyr Gibbs' breakout game, 152 yards, 1 touchdown. Again, we've been saying it. We've been saying it for weeks. Jahmyr Gibbs is great. Give him the ball. In the draft, we said it tons of times. Take him early. He's a dynamic, game-changing running back. So there we are. That's another victory lap for us tonight, Cease. But for the Raiders, a lot of talk about the last 2 years. They didn't have enough money to fire Josh McDaniels. Well, they fired the GM and Josh McDaniels. There was an erroneous story going out, a fictitious story going out about Josh McDaniels dressing up as Mark Davis for Halloween, and the whole, he ordered a P.F. Chang's thing, and then they fired him because he wasn't enthusiastic enough about the costume. But that was fake, although the crazy part is it actually got a decent amount of people in the league, according to Albert Breer, an insider, to believe it, because that's how bad the Raiders are mismanaged. The good news is Josh McDaniels is out for anyone who maybe manages a team in fantasy that has Devontae Adams. Also, as a result of this game, Aiden O'Connell is now the starting quarterback, and a lot of people around the league are saying, yeah, it's because he's their best quarterback. So, wow, we have got a lot coming out of this game, and although the Lions are 6-2, a lot of it's coming from the Raiders after all these changes.
Yeah, Lions still a good team. Would have liked to see them kind of, not keep settling for field goals in that first half, but they turned it on in the second half, so that's what matters. Their offense is great. It really is. It's just Jared Goff just makes some weird decisions sometimes. And then Matt Crosby is great for the Raiders defense. So, the Raiders have probably 2 great players, Devontae Adams and Max Crosby. And after that, Josh Jacobs is fine. Jacoby Myers is okay. There's really just not that much else there, to be honest with you. But, yeah, I'm so glad the Raiders finally just went, this team sucks. And not in the way of like, oh, there's just no talent. It's in the way that literally they don't get the ball to the best player on offense. Like Devontae Adams gets 1 catch for 11 yards. That's disgraceful. And literally there were some balls that him and Jimmy Garoppolo didn't connect on, and that's an issue in itself, but, that stuff happens. At least, you throw the ball downfield. But love of God, like, why is the only route that you can try to get Devontae Adams the ball to is where it's a zero, a cover zero all-out blitz, and you just don't even put a good touch on the ball. Why is that? Like, what is that offense? Other than that, it was, them trying to throw the ball to Josh Jacobs in the backfield, who is not a great pass-catching back, by the way. Drops a lot of passes in the backfield, I've noticed. Other than that, it was Hunter Renfrow was getting most of the targets in this game as a wide receiver. And, like, there's nothing wrong with Hunter Renfrow, but you have Devontae Adams. Like, Jimmy Garoppolo looked like a shell of himself. Aiden O'Connell should be the starting quarterback, which I'll be sad to see him go as one of my favorite backups so far. Having Aiden O'Connell graduate, it's a sad day for us in the backup quarterback world. But Brian Hoyer is still there, hanging out. And really, I'm gonna attribute a lot of Aiden's success to Brian Hoyer, a true professional. So, hats off to him. Jimmy G's got to go. Josh McDaniels been a laughing stock, and honest to God, if I was Devontae Adams, I would have just forced myself out of this at this point. I would have just literally gone to the GM on Monday night and just literally gone, trade me. I'm not coming back. I'm not playing for you the rest of the year. I don't care. Honestly, I came here to play with, Derek Carr, who is my friend, and we played together in college. And that's why I came here. That's why I signed the deal here. You have now done everything to make sure that didn't happen. And not even that, I'm just not even getting the ball. I might as well I'm a $25 million a year decoy to just run a go route and have somebody run with me. I'm running for the love of the game routes all game long. I'm barely getting the ball. And even when Jimmy Garoppolo does launch it downfield my way, it's so wobbly and out of balance. It's embarrassing. So, yeah, if I'm Devontae Adams, at least Aiden O'Connell will try. We have a chance for him to try to get the ball. And I like what I've seen out of Aiden O'Connell in limited fashion. So this was the right move for the Raiders. It's the right move to get rid of Josh McDaniels. I think will we see him back on the Patriots? Will he appear this Sunday magically back with the Patriots? Will there be there can only be one Bill O'Brien versus Josh McDaniels kind of fight?
A duel.
A duel. I mean, it's kind of like a rite of passage for Bill Belichick assistants, I feel like. It's like everyone's just fighting, for favor. So he'll come skulking back. Maybe he'll be offensive, control, offenses, whatever they want to call it. He'll find some crazy job, work for the Patriots again. All will be forgiven, just like it always is with Bill. And he will go back to being a peon. R.I.P. Josh McDaniels. I thought, I heard the story they dressed up as Al Davis, which would have been even worse. And I just sat there. I'm like, what is going on with this place? But yeah, like you said, this is a horribly run organization. I know. Hats off to Mark. Maybe he had a crazy night at the casino, and he just was like, "I gotta fire Josh. One way or another, I'm either gonna lose the franchise at the tables tonight, or I'm gonna make enough back to fucking fire this guy." So maybe that's what happened. Maybe that's the untold story. And you know what? It's the franchise, like you said. It's dysfunctional enough to believe it. So that's the story I'm going with. Please do not report that somewhere. If someone is listening to this, it is not a real take. But thank you.
Well, maybe Devontae Adams and Max Crosby said, "Hey, we'll stay in Vegas. We'll stay playing for the Raiders. We like the Raiders, but you got to fire the coach." And they did after the trade deadline. They fired him at 1 a.m. on Halloween. Well, Halloween had just passed, but the night of Halloween, basically. I guess in Las Vegas it was 11 p.m. on Halloween night. Just great timing. Only the Raiders. It's just perfect. So we'll see how they go moving forward. I actually think Devontae Adams goes back to being somewhat fine. I think he's one of these guys who's a little bit quarterback proof as far as a wide receiver. So even with AOC, as they're calling him, starting at quarterback, I think he'll be just fine. All right, let's get to.
Do you think Daniels was at the facility when he got fired, or was it a phone call, or you think did Mark Davis fire him over text, and Josh wasn't even up, and he woke up to it the next morning?
Well, I think
he went to the office and got fired.
What if he told him "Hey, come back to the office after the kids go trick or treating," and so he took the kids trick or treating and had to come back to the office and get fired? I heard that. I forget where I heard that somewhere else, but I'd be like, that would be great for Mark Davis to do.
Maybe it was maybe they were trying to really channel a younger generation, and he kind of broke up with them via Snapchat DM. Who knows?
Wow. Only the Raiders.
Only the Raiders, man.
All right. Well, let's move on to Week 9, Cease. We have some picks to get into here. We're going to start it off Thursday Night Football. We have the Tennessee Titans and Will Levis going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers are favored by 2.5 points right now.
Give me the Steelers to win and cover. I think Will Levis had a better time against the Falcons team that kind of just underestimated him. I think the Steelers now have a little tape. They saw what happened. I think the big part of Will Levis was, remember, DeAndre Hopkins is on the team, which everyone else seemed to have forgotten, including myself. But I think the Steelers aren't going to sleep on him. They just saw it. There's tape now. I think they're ready to go. And it's the Steelers defense. And they make people's lives nightmares, and they play physical. And I don't know if Will Levis is ready for that. There's a lot of different coverage things. I think Micah Fitzpatrick gets an interception or two in this game. And, it's not a great matchup for your second start. So, not that I believe in the Steelers' offense very much, but I think this could be a game where, we sold high on Will Levis. We're buying in. And this could be a game where he just gets absolutely torched. It'll be close because the offense is bad for the Steelers. But I don't expect Will Levis to have anywhere near close to the game he had last week.
I don't either. This pass rush is for real for the Steelers. It's one of the things you can say is very, very good. You mentioned the offense has some issues, and Kenny Pickett might be here, hurt in this game, might play, might not. I'm going to take the Steelers still. I think Cam Hayward just got activated off of IR. I don't know if he'll play in this game either. But I think that pass rush does wonders for them, and the defense holds solid. They get the win at home. Just one of those games, if the Steelers always finish with above 500 record, just one you got to win. All right, we'll move it on into the Germany game on Sunday morning, 9:30. Everyone's going to wake up for this one. This is probably the best international game I can remember that wasn't played in Mexico like that one Chiefs-Rams game a couple years ago. It's the Dolphins at the Chiefs. The Chiefs are favored by 1 point right now. This game, again, in Germany. We have Patrick Mahomes possibly with the flu. What are you thinking, Cease?
I am going to go... I don't know anything about the weather in Germany this time of year. Assuming it's going to be decent out. So I'm going to go Dolphins to win in this one. I'm just picking them straight up. Reasons why is I think the Dolphins want to put on a good show. I think Pat Mahomes is – and I think Pat Mahomes' offense – Pat Mahomes is going to be much better in this game, obviously. But I think – there's a lot of stuff going on with their offense that's not very functional. And I think the Dolphins have multiple ways they can beat you in the ground game, in the passing attack. They just have a lot of different options. I think the Dolphins will find a way to limit Travis Kelce and force Pat Mahomes to do other stuff that is not as effective. So I think it's going to be an awesome game, but I like the Dolphins. I think I like what the Dolphins have been on a great positive track. I think they've got a plethora of weapons, and they utilize all of them. And I think it's hard, even though this Chiefs defense is much better than it's been. I think they're the ones to step up and pull it through in the end. But yes, for the people of Germany, you got one hell of a game because this is one of the best regular season games of this year. I'm just hoping the jet lag, stuff like that, doesn't affect them. I hope it's an excellent game.
Yeah, I'm with you, Cease. I have a niece's baptism to go to Sunday morning. Ceremony starts at 8. So we're gonna hope we're done by the time this game starts, so I can be watching on my phone during the post baptism activities. Interesting note here for you, buddy. They don't have a weather thing on ESPN for the stadium. I think it's open and to let the weather in, so that we don't know what the weather's gonna be like at all. So ESPN's letting us down again with this. Say what you will to them. Obviously we're very specifically hurt by the Indianapolis Colts and whether the roof is open and the whole dome is open, whatever. But I'm with you. One of the best games of the season. I'm going Dolphins as well outright. Big 2-9 guy. Number one. Number two, Patrick Mahomes has the flu. They're also getting to Germany on Friday. They only have one practice in Germany before the game. Just doesn't feel like that's the greatest situation. I think, the stats might pack it up where the teams that get there earlier usually can adjust better and play better. And I also think we're on the verge of having a lot of people call the Dolphins frauds, like you called the Bills frauds a couple of weeks ago, because they haven't beat anyone good this year. They've lost to, a lot of the good teams they've played, and they've won against some bad teams. But I think that motivates them. I think they're ready to go and beat the Chiefs. We know that it's a Tyreek Hill revenge game, even though he wanted to stay with the Chiefs, with everything else. But I'm going Dolphins. I think it's too good to be true here. We're going to go Dolphins to win. The line keeps on moving closer. It was 2.5 earlier in the week. Now it's down to 1. So we're going Dolphins too. Sunday afternoon, we have the Minnesota Vikings with Jaron Hall likely as the starting quarterback against the Atlanta Falcons with Taylor Heineke as the starting quarterback. Atlanta Falcons favored by 4.5, Cease.
Give me the Falcons to win. I guess I don't know. This is such a I don't bet game. Falcons to win. You know what? Falcons to cover too. I'm not super confident in it. The only reasoning is because Tyler Heineke has put up some decent NFL games. Jaron Hall is a complete unknown at this point. They're going to have to play a lot of Creed in that locker room for me to gain some confidence. But yeah, there's just too many unknowns with him. I got to take the quarterback I've seen and has shown the ability to drive the ball downfield in some key times and get wins. So give me Taylor Heineke.
I was thinking the same thing. Falcons to win and cover. This Vikings team is not the team that they have been. I mean, even over the last couple of years, there's no Kirk Cousins, there's no Dalvin Cook, there's no Justin Jefferson, there's no Adam Thielen. It's going to be kind of rough there. So I'm going to go Falcons because they are a solid team this year. And I'm not sure that moving to Taylor Heineke isn't going to be an upgrade over Desmond Ridder. So I'm going to go Falcons to win and cover. Chicago Bears at the New Orleans Saints. The Saints are favored by 8.5 right now, Cease.
It's the Ditka Bowl. Give me the Saints to win in the Superdome. I'm going to pick the Bears for points. 8.5's a lot. I think Tyler Bagent or Justin Fields plays. I think they'll play it close enough. I think they'll play within a touchdown. That's more of a hunch. I know the Bears kind of got embarrassed last week. But I just think that won't happen 2 times in a row. I think they have enough of a semblance of a game plan. And they have DJ Moore. And I don't know why I kind of like this Bears team with whoever's starting. I just think they have a chance to be a decent team. They have talent on the team. So give me the Bears with the points.
Saints to win and cover for me. Bagent did not look good against the Chargers. The Saints defense, I think, is better. Pretty hostile environment to play in if you're Bagent as well. I think the Saints are turning things around. They're starting to push the ball down the field more, so I'll trust that for now and take them to win and cover this game. Next one up, we have the Seahawks and Ravens. The Ravens are hosting this one, and they are favored by 5.5. Or 6, 6 now.
Seahawks at Ravens. Ravens minus 5.5. Right?
6.
6. Minus 6. Give me the Ravens. Give me the Ravens to win, but I'll take the Seahawks with the points. I think it'll be a close game. I think the Seahawks just kind of, try to trade and add on to this team. I think they're a team that might be good enough at limiting the run against the Ravens. And I think the Seahawks have enough weapons to make the Ravens defense kind of get spread out at times. So it's an interesting dynamic as it's 2 teams that really, like to really run the ball and kind of control the possession. But they have a lot of outside weapons as well. So I think it'll be a closer game. So I think the Ravens still win it at home, obviously. But I think it'll be closer than, a touchdown.
I'm going Ravens to win and cover. I didn't think I'd take this many favorites this week, especially with how the way the season's gone. But Seahawks have had to travel a lot this year. I know they've done great in the Eastern time zone historically over the last couple of years. But I do think the Ravens are starting to hit their stride. Like, they definitely won that game against the Cardinals, and then the Cardinals just had so many BS garbage time points that let them back into it. I'm going to trust the Ravens to win and cover. We'll see what happens with this one. We'll see if how much Leonard Williams suits up or makes an impact, or whether they kind of keep him suited on the sideline for a week or two before he starts really making an impact. Next game up, we have the Arizona Cardinals at the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland Browns favored by 8 points.
I'm gonna go with give me the Cleveland Browns to win it. It's really a question of, do I think the Cleveland Browns offense will score points? Clayton Tune's probably starting. Give me the Browns to win and cover. I don't like that spread at all. It's just too. There's too many unknowns right now, because it's gonna be, it could be the Browns just straight up maul the Cardinals and they win by 14 points because it's just an absolute beatdown on the defensive side of the ball. Or, it could be something where, the defense stops them a bunch and it's a lot of 3 and outs, but the offense barely doesn't even get the ball in field goal range more than once or twice. I mean, this is that kind of game. I'm sensing maybe a nice under in this one.
37.5 could be the under. I'm gonna say the Browns win, but the Cardinals with the points. Reason being, I know the Browns just traded for Ezra Cleveland and everything to shore up the offensive line, but I think this quarterback play has been bad. Negative EPA per play, like you mentioned earlier. Cardinals are feisty. I do think Josh Dobbs was a good quarterback, but I think seeing Clayton Tune in his first game could be good too. I just don't trust the Browns to cover a more than a touchdown spread against many teams, if any team in the league, if we're talking about this with the Cardinals. I'll take the points. If the Browns win by more than that, that's okay. It's just, I think it's just tough to pick a team like that. Next one up, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Houston Texans. This line has changed a little bit. It is now Texans favored by 3 points.
Give me... I'm gonna pick Tampa Bay. I think they're tough enough on defense, and I think Baker Mayfield will be a little healthier in this game, and I think they're getting Godwin involved more, which is huge. And I think obviously Mike Evans is gonna have more yards. So I'm gonna pick a more experienced veteran over C.J. Stroud in this one. It's gonna be a close game, as the points indicate. Your 3-point favorites at home. That's kind of like the standard, line, basically 2 to 3 points. So it's going to be a close game. I like the veteran. I like Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers a little better. So give me them to win outright.
I want Texans to win and cover. I think the Bucs are kind of losing some steam here. And the Texans have been a better team at home, 2-1 at home this year. I think DeMeco Ryans can make things tough for this Buccaneers offense. So I'll take the Texans as the home team to win and cover. Next one up, we have the Washington Commanders, who traded so many defensive linemen away, at the New England Patriots. Now, this line has changed a little bit since the opening start of the week. It is now Patriots favored by 3.5.
That's who's home? Where is it at? Where is it being played at this year?
Patriots.
And Foxborough. Man, I mean, I guess it's like, do I trust the Patriots at all? But the Patriots are favored in the game is questionable no matter who they're playing. It feels like, what? Screw it. I'm picking the Commanders. Another crappy game that it's just I like what I've seen from Sam Howell so far. I think that obviously they mortgaged away half their D line, but the reality is I think Sam Howell will still go out there and compete. I think the Patriots offense is especially without Kendrick Bourne too. I mean, there's just not really many good guys on there, so it's going to be a close game. I trust Commanders just a little more than I do the Patriots.
Yeah, I made my picks on the GameHouse.com earlier this week before the trade deadline, and I picked the Commanders. Feel a little bit less secure about that, but I'll stick with the Commanders outright. I feel like They still got some good guys on the defensive line, like you mentioned. And Sam Howell's playing pretty good football. And the Patriots are that bad, and Kendrick Bourne is out for the season. It just keeps on getting worse for them. I'll go Commanders to get the upset win on the road. The Los Angeles Rams are traveling to take on the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers are favored by 3 points. Matt Stafford has that thumb injury. He is not officially ruled out yet.
And it's in Green Bay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Brett Rippion's the backup. I will pick Green Bay at home because it's a tough place to play. I think the weather's starting to turn, but I'm just hedging my bet and put the Rams with the points. Without Matt Stafford, I don't think Brett Ripion's really that bad. I think he can spot start, maybe get a win. I really don't trust either team right now. With the injury to Matt Stafford, then Jordan Love has just not been doing it this year. So give me the Packers in a close one just solely because they're at home.
I'm going Rams. Upset pick here. Take them with the points as well. I think Stafford's crazy enough he might try to play through this injury. May not be pretty, but he did play in the second half after he injured it for one drive. So we'll see. Apparently he injured it on the Philly special play that they ran and where he tried to catch the ball. But I'm sure it was him. It started where his hand hit the helmet. So he still played. I think he can come back in this game and be okay. Even if they have Brett Rippon starting, he's got some experience at the very least. And the Packers are just a mess to me. So until they prove that they can win a game, I don't know if I can pick them. I'm going to take the Rams to win and take the points there. Move on to the Sunday evening games. We have the Indianapolis Colts at the Carolina Panthers. Frank Reich revenge game here. Colts favored by 2.5 on the road.
Give me the Colts because they've done two things. They put up points. That's honestly the reason I'm picking the Colts is they've demonstrated they can put up points. I know the Panthers' defense is good, but it seems like the Colts that doesn't matter this year. Like they're just going to score points. It's not going to be pretty, and I think the Colts defense gets a little more on track in this game against the Panthers. So give me the Colts to win and cover.
I have the same thing. I think their defense will start to bounce back a little bit more. They still have that double-headed monster in the backfield between Zach Moss and Jonathan Taylor that they're splitting carries between, and honestly, it's because both of them are playing well. I think they can get the job done on the road. Panthers, they get that win, they get the monkey off their back, but they've obviously celebrated that win maybe a little bit too much, and now they got to refocus and try to beat a tough team in the Colts. One of the games we're all looking forward to here, is the Cowboys at the Eagles. The Eagles favored by 3 at home.
Give me the Eagles to win and cover at home. I think, they are a team that is getting better. And I know, obviously, they had that game that's less than stellar against the Commanders this week, but it seems to be that's their Achilles heel is the Washington Commanders. I think Cowboys are kind of coming off a big win, and I don't know if that's necessarily the best thing for them because I have a feeling, they can kind of get a little too involved in that, which worries me. So it's a big matchup. I got to go right now. I'm saying the Eagles have been the better team, over the last 2 years in these matchups. Even though the matchups last year in the regular season were both weird because neither one had each starting quarterback in them. So it'll be a great matchup. I'm excited for it. I think the Eagles win and cover at home.
I'm going Cowboys to win outright and with the points here. I think we're kind of looking at the Eagles with too many rose-tinted glasses, and me included for a lot of the weeks, but they're having a tough time covering games. They haven't had the toughest schedule so far. Patriots, Vikings, Buccaneers, Commanders, Rams, Jets, Dolphins, who they did beat and was a good team, and then the Commanders again. To me, that's not the toughest schedule. This is the start of their very tough portion of the schedule, which I believe is the toughest schedule any team will face over a 6-week stretch. But I do think the Cowboys, coming off that bye, look a little bit different. Jalen Hurts is banged up. He's turning the ball over too much. People aren't talking about it as much as they would if any other quarterback in the league was doing this. Like Dak Prescott gets all the hate when he does it, but Jalen Hurts, they had interceptions. People aren't talking about it as much. So I'm going Cowboys to win with the points. Look refreshed after that bye. I'll take my chances here. Could be one where the Eagles win and maybe the Cowboys get the next one as they start this. As I said, Eagles very tough, tough couple weeks coming up. The last 4 p.m. game, Cease, is the New York Giants at the Las Vegas Raiders. Raiders favored by 2 points.
Give me the. You know what? Screw it. I'm going to pick the rookie quarterback. They made a change. I think the Raiders will be better off for it. Give me the Raiders to win and cover at home.
Yeah, I'm going Raiders too. I think AOC has a big game, and Devontae gets more involved. They stop throwing the ball to Jacoby Myers so much. We saw, even Jeff Saturday when he was the interim coach last year for the Colts, that maybe some fire, some change of scenery helps the players out. I think this will in this case. And to make things better, the Giants just traded away Leonard Williams. So, what's their team's mentality? Like, oh, we're definitely not playing to win anything this year. So let's go Raiders in a game that people will probably either watch just for giggles or not watch at all. All right, Sunday Night Football, Cease. The Bengals and the Bills. The Bengals are hosting this one. Josh Allen did not practice today with a shoulder injury. It seems like they think he's going to play, though. This is going to be maybe an emotional game after the Damar Hamlin stuff happened last year, and then this year also hosting the Bills in a primetime game. I'm sure they're going to do some nice stuff for Damar Hamlin, although he was on the injury report, too, with an illness. It's just going to be maybe a little bit of a different game or an emotional game, at least to start.
Yeah. So 2 big things are. I'm going to pick the Bengals to win cover here. Josh Allen is going to play. I mean, I have no doubt in my mind. This being such a big game, it's a rematch. Under the lights. I don't think Josh Allen can miss this game unless literally he did not move his arm. That being said, though, Josh Allen being hurt and he's made some questionable throws, and I think he's having some limitations with his shoulder, which honestly a lot of his game is based on him being just having more talent than everyone. It's not necessarily as much about the processing and decision making, which, again, some guys can last a lot longer in the league, for 20 years because, it's more about what's, in between the ears and, making the right decisions, not throwing the picks that you don't need to throw and keeping yourself alive in a game sometimes when it's not there. I think Josh Allen will have limitations. I think that'll lead to some problems where Josh Allen is going to have a takeaway or maybe 2 that he's going to want to have back because this Bengals defense will make you pay for that. Other big thing is that these teams aren't really that different than the ones that played each other a year ago. And from the very short amount of time they played in Cincinnati before Damar Hamlin went into cardiac arrest and then the playoff game in Buffalo, the Bengals were in control in those games both times and pretty easily too. I think the Bills still can't stop the run, and I think the Bengals going in the I formation is going to be something that is going to be huge and something the Bills won't have an answer for yet. I think Joe Burrow. The stadium's going to be unreal, and I think Joe Burrow and the Bengals after that big 49ers win want to go in at their stadium, beat one of the better teams in the AFC and just really announce again that we're contenders and we're not just here to try to make the playoffs. We're here to try to win the whole damn thing. So I think the Bengals winning cover.
Yeah, with the way the Bills are struggling right now, and then the injuries they have, and Josh Allen being banged up, I'm taking the Bengals because the Bengals seem like they're getting better. Joe Burrow's getting healthier, been able to get around the pocket. You're right, the home field advantage will be crazy. The emotions will maybe be tough to start, like maybe a first quarter that both teams start slow, but I think the Bengals can catch up and end up winning and covering this game and setting themselves up for a good run in the next couple of weeks. Monday Night Football, Cease. This is another Monday night that just, great matchup. We have the Los Angeles Chargers at the New York Jets. Chargers favored by 3 on the road.
Give me the Chargers to win and cover. Again, the Jets' offense is questionable at best. They continue to go with Zach Wilson. Breece Hall might have a good game for the Jets. Other than that, there's just too many offensive weapons on the Chargers for this to be some. If they lose this game, that's all on the Chargers charging. I can't bet on that, so I'm going to go with the team that's much more talented and has the ability to score points even against a really good defense. So Chargers to win and cover.
Yeah, that Jets 3 game win streak is coming to an end. Just don't see that being able to hold up as soon as they keep on playing more good teams. Just a matter of time before another team gets them. I do think the quarterback play will be a little bit of a difference here, and that'll be the game changer. I think the Chargers are able to win by a touchdown on the road. All right, those were our picks for the week. Cecil, any final thoughts?
No, I mean, I'm excited about the Sunday night game. I will be somewhere in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico at that point, and I figured it out. I will be able to view the game on the cruise. So, congrats to me.
There you go. Not a better place to watch a Bengals game other than maybe in the stadium than the middle of the Gulf of Mexico. A lot of fun. My final thought is just a reminder to like and subscribe on YouTube. Make sure you download the podcast, give us 5-star review. It helps us as we go through the season. Happy to answer any questions you guys have on Twitter or during the podcast if you send them our way. For now, thanks for listening. We'll see you guys next week.
Thanks, guys.